Hey everybody, it's Tamara from Moogly, and hopefully we are live here on YouTube. It is February 23rd, 2021, and I can see my little video here on my laptop, so I'll make sure I'm muted for myself, but on the page so I can see the chat. Awesome. So it seems to be working from my end. Hopefully you guys can see it there. So thanks so much for tuning in. I just came over from Facebook where I talked about the latest Moogly news and giveaways. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. There should be a link in the description. I'll be embedding the Facebook video there as soon as I'm done here. And then, of course, I'll embed this video there as well. But there's lots of links to fun things going on. I've got a Michael's Karen Cake showcase happening tonight. I'll be showing off some new yarns and projects and things, so definitely check that out if you can. But today, what I want to talk about here on YouTube is the Alpine Stripe Beanie. You can see right here is the Alpine Stripe Beanie itself. I love it with or without poms. It is just a really great textured hat using that alpine stitch that's so popular. It also has a matching pocket scarf, the Alpine Pocket Scarf, which is available on yarnspirations.com. This one is on mooglyblog.com. This hat also comes in 3 sizes: teen, small adult, and large adult. The teen is kind of a 21 to 22 inch head, small adult 22 to 23, large adult 23 to 24. And to make this hat, you need Red Heart Heat Wave or your favorite worsted weight yarn. I really love this one. Heats up in the cold, as long as there's some UV light. We had lots of cold and a little bit of UV light, but whatever is there would help make this a little bit warmer. If you don't want to use this yarn, Red Heart with Love makes an excellent substitute. So yeah, we use that yarn and a USK 6.5 millimeter hook. I have a new one today that I haven't used before. This is a Susan Bates ergonomic soft hook. I haven't had a chance to use these before. Oops, I saw we went out of focus there. Sorry about that, guys. We're working on a brand new lens. But we're going to be going to the overhead shot soon, so hopefully that'll be a little bit more stable, and I can show you a closer look at this hook. Like I say, it's my first time using it too, so we're going to experience together. So hi, Gretchen and Marshall and Jay Duncan and Penny. Hey, everybody, and Chris, thanks so much for tuning in. So let's go ahead. I'm going to bring my hand camera over here so you don't have to see and get seasick as I move it here, and then let's go ahead and go to that view. Okay, get a little centered there. There we are. So now you've got a little bit closer look at the hat there, a little bit more in focus. Like I say, this is a top-down hat. We start at the top, work our way down, and then finally add the brim. And the brim is added side to side in rows with one of my favorite techniques. Looks like I actually went that direction there with those. So that finishes that off. And then, like I say, you can add a bean or a pom-pom to the top of that, whatever you like. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at this hook. Like I say, it's my first time using this hook myself. I've, of course, used Susan Bates hooks in the past, but not with this ergonomic handle edition. So you can see it's still got the thumb grip and the size printed on it there, which is always convenient. Susan Bates. And then I like this. It's a little bit easier to read than the, the embossed or whatever you want to call it. The ones you can feel on the metal. I'm sure there's a word for it. But it's just got, it's not super squishy, but it is certainly softer than aluminum. And I think this is an interesting design because you still got the thumb rest for those who want it, but you've got the softness back here. And if you're like me, someone who twirls a little bit, I'm wondering if maybe I'll end up holding it a little bit back here for my style. I think for thumb holders, that's pretty nice because your hand just kind of goes right around the soft portion and your thumb lands right on that thumb rest. So this feels like a pretty darn good hook. So let's go ahead and give it a whirl here. I'm going to open up my yarn and pull out an end. There we are. When it's a skein like this, I always look for the end that's tucked in and I pull that out and there it is. That's my end to start with. Usually how it goes. Of course, we've all had those skeins where the end really wants to hide from us, right? So I've printed out the pattern right here using the print-friendly button on Moogly. And one thing I want to point out, I've gotten a lot of questions actually about this, so I went ahead and put a note about it in the pattern. The first 4 or 5 rounds of this hat will ruffle and not lay flat. So it kind of gets that hyperbolic craziness because we're putting a lot of stitches in right away. You can see right here, if I bring the hat back up, you can see how it's kind of a little wobbly up there, but then it all comes down as you work down the sides. It's just because of this stitch pattern, we have to get a lot of stitches in there kind of right away, right up front. So to make this hat, oh, thank you so much, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I understand beanies in Florida. You guys are the one place that didn't need them this last week. So I'm going to start with a magic circle. So for my magic circle, I take the end of my yarn here and I go over my finger twice towards me, just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my hook under both of those loops. Just kind of adjusting how I'm holding it here, giving it a whirl. I'm going to grab that furthest one back and just pull it right up under that edge. And then I'll make a chain that really kind of just locks them together. I'm not going to count it as a chain, but now those loops are kind of locked together. So I'll go ahead and start my pattern. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to do the smallest size, I think. The only difference between the sizes is the number of stitches. The instructions themselves are the same. If I bring this back up, you can see here the 3 different sizes. So for teen, I would make 12, for the small adult, 13, for the large adult, 14. And then that just translates as you work the next rows, or rounds rather, you're going to end up with more stitches in each of those rounds simply because you've got that extra stitch there in your first round. So I've got my chain 2, which does not count as a stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and work 12 double crochets right in the ring. So when I do that, I want to make sure to go under both of those loops right there, catching that tail. Even though it's not really, it's just kind of hanging out there, I want to make sure to get my hook under both of those, because when I pull on that tail, that's what's going to allow me to close up that magic circle nice and tight. So there is our first double crochet. And I'll make one more, I think, before I pull my finger out of there. Again, I want to make sure I go under both those loops and work that double crochet stitch right off. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for tuning in from Texas. Just saw yours. We are definitely, I was just saying on Facebook, thinking about you guys. I know in Iowa, we're prepared for this cold. So you guys down there were not, and our hearts have certainly gone out to you. I hope things are improving day by day. So you can see here, I'm just going to continue making my double crochets, and I'm still going around that tail end as well as the ring itself with each one of these stitches. But now with my finger out of there, I'm just putting double crochets right into that ring until I've got a total of 12. So, hi Penny, I see you're tuning in from Vermont. Awesome. Probably pretty chilly up there as well. I know we'd be very happy if we can see some sun today. There was actually some sun peeking in the basement window when I was trying to do my live. Every time I held up a skein of yarn or something, it wanted to pop on there. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 3 more for the small size here. So hi Nancy, tuning in, another person from Florida. Awesome, awesome. Hopefully you guys won't get any crazy weather down there requiring beanies anytime soon. But, you know, eventually travel hopefully will come back as well. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got 12. All right, so here's the key to that magic circle. We've been working over that tail. So now we just give it a tug, then another tug. Sometimes you got to give it a little extra tug, and it just closes that top right on up. One thing I hear a lot of complaints about the magic circle is people say they weave in their ends and it comes open again. When you weave in that end, you use your yarn needle and go around the circle in the same direction, but then turn and come back the opposite direction a couple times. And when you make those turns back and forth, that's what really locks that together. So that's the key to keeping your magic circle together. So let's see. Oh, Connie, you're still without water from the storm, but it'll be in the 70s. Oh my gosh, what a turnaround. I'll tell you what, once in a while here we'll get a day where it seems to have, 2 different seasons in the same day, but that is a heck of a change. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up round 1 here. I'm going to join with a slip stitch right in that first double crochet. And so far, I've got to say, I'm really enjoying using this hook. It's very comfortable. I think this does make it quite a bit more comfortable here on the end for those who maybe don't like the feel of the aluminum against their hand. Yeah, I'm really enjoying using this hook so far. So round 2, we're going to chain 1 and then just work 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So go right back into that first stitch and then again for a second single crochet. And this is what I'm talking about, that those first few rows, we're really packing the stitches in here really tightly. So if you get ruffles and it's not a perfectly flat circle, like most hats when you start out making them, they start with a flat circle. This one's a little different. This one's got a few extra stitches in the top, but it'll all work out as you make the sides. Just want to make sure I've got enough yarn here coming up out of my lap. So, and good morning, Joni from San Francisco Bay. Hopefully you guys have had it a little warmer there as well. I have some friends in California, and they don't tell me about their weather too much because they know I think I'll be a little jealous. So we'll continue on around here. Let's see. So yeah, definitely let me know what you guys are working on right now as well. We're in that weird position here, end of February. I think as a designer, I'm never sure. Do people want more winter stuff, or are we thinking spring? What is on your mind? Next week, of course, or well, yes, next week, but next month is National Crochet Month for the month of March. Is National Craft Month and National Crochet Month. So hopefully there'll be some fun things going on as well for that. I know I've got a special pattern planned for that as well. So I've made 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So depending on how many you started with, you should now have 24, 26, or 28 single crochets for round 2. So still laying pretty much flat, but it's definitely a lot of stitches in there in a short space. So let's see. Oh, thank you, Frank. I'm glad you like my method for the magic loop. I think, there's several different, excuse me, magic circle, magic ring, different names, different ways to do it. But, whatever works for you is the best. As long as it gives you that nice tight close in the end, it's all good. So for round 3, I'm going to start with a chainless starting double crochet in the first stitch. So this is my double crochet substitute. If you have other double crochet substitutes, some people like to sort of a stacked single crochet type technique that they use. You can do that too. But I just pull it up to the height of a double crochet, excuse me. Put my finger over the loop, wrap that loop around my hook, go right on into that first stitch, yarn over, pull that loop up and through, and I've still got my finger on top of that loop on my hook to hold it in place. Then I yarn over and pull through that first loop and behind the loop wrapped around the hook, and then yarn over again and go ahead, release that loop and pull through 2 to finish it. Okay, just need to pull up some more yarn from my lap here. It was getting a little tight on the skein as I finished that stitch. There we go. So now we've got our chainless starting double crochet. So then I'm going to continue in the pattern with the asterisk. It says front post treble around the double crochet below the next stitch and then double crochet in the next stitch. So one thing to note, it's a little clue here, a little hint as you're working this pattern. Rounds 2 and 3, there's no stitch change. So we're working even around this round. So we're not going to be increasing at all. So we've got our chainless starting double crochet in our first stitch, and then we're going to front post treble crochet around the double crochet below the next stitch. Now, the next stitch, remember we worked 2 single crochets in that first stitch, so that means it's going to be the first of those double crochets. So for a treble, we yarn over twice, and then we come on down here and find that very first double crochet we made right there, the one that the next single crochet is worked into. I'm going to go around that hook from front to back, come out the other side right around the post of that double crochet right there with my hook. Then I yarn over, pull that loop right behind the post, and then yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. There we are. And there is our front post treble. Let's see. And then, oh, awesome, Penny. You're working on the Feel the Heat mittens with Marley Bird. That's awesome. She has done such a great job with those mittens. And let's see, Gretchen. Oh, I love those coupons from Joann's and Michael's. All those 40% off coupons are the best. And Marshall's working on Easter eggs. Very awesome. Gretchen, you made 4 of the crocheted hearts. Thank you. So awesome. Okay. And yay. Oh, thank you so much, Connie. All right, Nancy, you know what? However you can hold the yarn is comfortable is good. It's all good. So many people wrap it around a bunch of fingers. I've seen all kinds of things. I did a blog post at one point. Some people were tensioning through their toes. You just never know. All right, so we've got our front post treble around the double crochet below the next stitch, and then we need to double crochet in the next stitch. So since we worked a post stitch below that stitch, it is considered worked. Remember, we don't want to increase. So we want to come right over to the next one and work our double crochet there. So if you need to, you can always kind of, when I'm working post stitches, I tend to flip them forward a little bit and look at the row behind it just to make sure I'm always working in that right spot. So remember, we had 2 single crochets in each of the double crochets below. So basically, we're working double crochet in the first one of those, and then a front post treble crochet around the double crochet underneath. Then we skip, basically working into that one and double crochet in the next one. So let's do that again. We're going to front post treble, and because it's the double crochet under this next one, it's just that straight up, that next double crochet of the first round. So we're going to work front post treble crochet stitches around each of the double crochets in round 1. So there's that one. Then we skip the top of that stitch right there and double crochet in the one after that. We want to have the same number of stitches in round 3 as we had in round 2. So when we drop all the way down, just go ahead and find the very next double crochet in round 1. Make your front post treble there. Skip the top of that stitch there and double crochet in the next one. So let's see here. I'm just kind of glance through your comments a little bit as I'm crocheting. So yes, Connie, I bet. Oh my gosh. That's the one thing when you live down in Texas, you probably didn't expect to have to need all those blankets or beanies or all that stuff. I can only imagine. We've been without power for a week here before, but luckily it was usually in the summertime. So hot, but and always a bummer for the freezer. That's the one good thing about losing power in the winter. We don't at least lose the food. But in the summertime, always a risk. And it has unfortunately happened a few times to us here. So I'm just working my way around. Like I say, it's kind of, it reads confusingly, you know, in the usual crochet nomenclature, but basically double crochet in every other one and front post treble in each one of those double crochets from round 1. It's just the way it works out. So let's see, make sure I haven't chatted my way into an error here. Doesn't look like it. All right, continue our way around. But I think that this is the section where a lot of people get a little tripped up on this hat, because there's just increasing with post stitches can be a little confusing. I know once I had the hang of crochet cables, knitting cables actually seemed quite easy comparatively. I think that's the one area where crochet really is a little trickier. But I think that's part of what makes crochet so exciting too, is that you can kind of stick that hook just about anywhere and create something new. So let's see here. I'm just continuing on around. You can see here it's getting some shape to it. This is what it looks like from the back. If you haven't worked these before from the back, it's going to seem to have almost its own layers of texture from the back, but I think that adds a lot of warmth for this style of hat, which is, of course, the point. So we're almost there. But yeah, I'm really enjoying using this hook. The shaft isn't terribly long right here, so I think this hook style would be very difficult to do bullion type stitches with, because you don't have a lot of room to line up a lot of loops on here, I'm noticing. But for anything up to a treble, certainly. Yeah, about a treble. That's about as long, because this section of the hook right here, in between the taper and the handle, is what you use to create the size of your loops. So you're only, with a worsted, of course this is a worsted, with a thinner yarn I'd get a lot more, but you're only going to get so many loops. If you pull them back here onto the thumb rest, those are going to start opening up a little bit, and that's how you can end up with really leggy, especially taller stitches. They can end up being kind of leggy and open there at the top. So something to keep in mind, but it is quite comfortable. And, you know, not everybody wants to make bullions. They are not for everyone. We'll put it that way. All right, let's see. Do I have all the way around here? Did I end up working back into a post stitch? I may have, or a slip stitch. I think I did. Let's see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yes, we've got our 12 post stitches, 12 double crochets in between. I have worked around that last double crochet right there. So then we're ready to go ahead and slip stitch to our first stitch of the round. Here we are. So pull that through, there we go, and that's what it should look like at the end of round 3. So still relatively flat, not too wobbly, and that's what it looks like there in the back. You can kind of see that layer there. I think that really adds sort of some thermal insulation to the hat. Anytime you can trap air in there, it's going to make it a little bit warmer. That's why crochet hats do tend to be so warm, is because there's lots of chances to trap those pockets of air. So for round 4, it's just a repeat of round 2. 2 single crochets in each stitch. So that's where it can really start getting a little hyperbolic and wobbly. We don't usually increase that much on a round 4, but again, we are using these increases to help us with this particular stitch pattern. So I'm going to start putting 2 single crochets in each one of these. Let's see. So I'm going to check down here. Gretchen, you bought a generator a few years ago. We bought one a couple years ago as well. Yeah, the thunderstorms just got to be too much. We got sick of losing the freezer. Hi, Dana. I'm from Iowa, too. At least I live in Iowa now. I'm not originally, but I do live in Iowa now. And Lisa, I'm so glad that your church was able to help you guys out. It's always wonderful how a community can pull together in times like this. So, Frank, what is the bullion stitch? The bullion stitch, well, it's kind of like the puff stitch. You can have a variety of sizes. If you're familiar with the puff stitch, it's kind of a whole bunch of half double crochets worked as one into a stitch. So let's go ahead. Let's pretend I'm not making a hat here. A puff stitch would be yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, go into that same stitch, yarn over, go into that stitch again, however many times the pattern called for, and they're all different, and then yarn over and pull through all of them like that. And then you get that big puffy stitch. A bullion is similar, except you're not usually going into the stitch. You are literally just wrapping around. And there's different ways to do it, but you're just wrapping around your hook a bunch of times and then attempting to pull that back through, which, as you can see, is an incredibly fussy maneuver. And that's why I say it's not for everyone. But there we go. So you can see, and then, you can do whatever after that. But bullions are, that's the basic move. Like I said, there's different varieties and different ways to do them. But a bullion is a bunch of yarn overs that then you pull through. And that can be very difficult. As you can see, it's very difficult to pull those individual stitches, pull the yarn back through all those loops. So, but you want to have a long, straight shaft to do those bullions with, because you need all those loops to be the same size. Otherwise, it gets a little messy, kind of like that one was starting to do. So, yay, thank you. Let's see. Thank you so much, Dana. So yeah, since we're putting 2 single crochets in each stitch now around, of course, at the end of round 4, we'll have twice as many stitches as we had in round 3, and indeed round 2. But we'll be almost done with we actually will be done with our increases. So like I say, that's why we kind of get that hyperbolic effect. We've got all our increases for the hat in these first 4 rounds here. So it adds up quick, and you can see how it really is starting to get that curve now. And get it at the right angle here, so you can see it wants to wobble, it wants to wiggle, it wants to be kind of like an ultimate frisbee, one of those soft frisbees the kids had to play with when they were little. That's what they always make me think of. A Pringle. Got that wave to it. Pull up some more yarn here. But after this round of increases and then working the next round into it, then really it's just working the alpine stitch in the round until you get down to that brim. And I've got lots of tutorials where I do demo that brim a little bit, including one dedicated exclusively to that brim and cuff style. It's very similar to the really popular slip stitch brim, but I use single crochets, so it doesn't take forever and a day, frankly. I love the look of a slip stitch brim, but you do need patience to make those. All right, there we go. So here we have it. A little bit of a Pringle shape, but that's totally okay. We've got 48 stitches all around there, or 52 or 56, depending on what size you're making. And then we're ready for round 5. And like I say, round 5 is really the last tricky round. After that, it's just the alpine stitch, also known as the overlapping post stitch. It's just worked even on down the sides. So let's see. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Frank. Yeah, the bullion stitches, yeah, I think Cthulhu might have invented those. They are pretty tricky. What hook am I using? This is the Susan Bates soft ergonomic hook, and I've linked to it at the link in the description here on the video as well as the yarn. This is, again, it's a Susan Bates. I'll hold it right up there. You can see, oop, get that to focus. There we go. 6.5 millimeter. It is different. It's different from other ergonomic hooks I've used before because you've still got that thumb rest exposed, but it really kind of creates that softness in the hand. So whether you're holding it knife hold and basically covering all that, or holding it pencil hold like I do, however you want to hold it, I'm enjoying using it so far. Today's the first day I've used it, so you're kind of getting a live on the spot review of the hook as well. So let's see. So for round 5, we're going to start again with our chainless starting double crochet. So I'll go ahead and pull that up to the height of my stitch, wrap the yarn right around my hook, go right into that first stitch, yarn over, pull that loop up and through, yarn over again, pull through, yarn over again, release and pull through. And you can see I even switch. I didn't realize I do. I tend to switch to the knife hold to make that stitch and then switch back to the pencil hold. So whatever hold you want to use with this hook seems to work pretty darn well. Excuse me. Okay. So now we need to front post treble crochet around the double crochet below the next stitch, which we know we worked 2 single crochets right into this double crochet right here in between those front post trebles. And that's where we want to put our front post treble now. So we yarn over twice and come down right to that first double crochet right there. And we can go right around that one, just as we did before, and work that off. And I do tend to sort of grip my trebles as I, excuse me, as I work those pairs of loops off. It seems to help steady it a little bit and keeps it from getting leggy and uneven within the stitch itself. So I know it's, for video, probably not the best thing to have my thumb right over it, but I do feel like that gives a better finished stitch in the end. So then we double crochet in the next stitch. Remember, we want to skip. That one is considered worked now, so we come over to the next one, put a double crochet there. So that'll be the first single crochet worked into the next stitch. And now we're going to front post treble around the front post treble below. So we yarn over twice, and now we come down right to that front post treble crochet. Work that one off as well. And then that is our repeat. We want to, well, we still need to double crochet in the next stitch. We still want to double crochet in between each of those front post trebles. So we skip that one there and double crochet in the next one, like so. So we are going to be working a front post treble crochet around each one of these stitches 2 rows below, but still just double crocheting into every other one in the previous row. So let's do a few more of those together here as we go. So you can see I double crocheted right into that stitch. So I'm going to work a front post treble crochet around this double crochet now, and then basically skip that stitch right there. The next double crochet will be over there. So it's a little easier to see before I work those stitches here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down here, put in that front post treble. And then, like I say, you want to skip over that one right there. It's basically considered worked because we don't want to increase it all this round. So we come to the next one for that double crochet. And then right back to our front post treble around whatever is stitches next 2 rows below. All of those will get worked into for our front post treble crochet stitches. Then we can flip it forward, skip that next one right there, and get a double crochet right in the next one. So at the end of this round, round 5, you should have the exact same number of stitches that you had in the previous round. And this will help start pulling that out a little bit too, getting rid of a little bit of that wobble. But then as we continue to work down the sides, that'll really help pull that out straight. So yay, thank you guys. Let's see. Yeah, I like those clear markings on the handle too. Tell you what, there's you know, you always have to catch the light just right to be able to read those, right? I know when I'm pulling them out, I have to sort of get my lamp out and get them right under the lamp at just the right angle. Might have something to do with turning 45 this last year, but you know, we'll pretend it's the hooks. So let's see. Thank you. And yes, the pattern is the Alpine Stitch Beanie. Thank you. There is a link in the description right now that you can follow that will take you to everything I've talked about on my lives today, but it will also have a link to this pattern, as well as the hook itself. I've linked to the hook. I didn't know if I was going to like it when I started using it, but I do. I do like it indeed. And it's sliding really nicely through. This part is still the usual aluminum that you're used to and you love in your Susan Bates. Definitely still has that inline hook style, which if you did want to make bullions is actually very good. Another note about bullions, we were talking about those earlier for those who may have just gotten here. Because with bullions, you want to have a really long shaft where it's straight right here so you can line up all those loops nice and even. But ideally, you also want to have an inline hook where the pointy part of the hook, the grabby part of the hook, doesn't stick out any further than the shaft right here. You can see how it's sort of in line, it's lined up. You've got the tapered ones where they stick out a little bit more. I don't happen to have one in front of me. Slightly different style. But for bullions or even puff stitches, having that lined up, when you pull that back through all those loops, keeps it from catching as much on those other loops as you pull through. So that is something to look for if you want to make those multi-loop stitches as well. So I'll continue working them around here. So thanks, you guys. Just checking your comments here as I crochet. Try not to lose my place. But yeah, you can see it's starting to straighten out a little bit more from that Pringle shape. Doesn't feel like it wants to ruffle as much. And then as I say, as we make the sides, that'll pull down even more. I did put stripes in this one to match the pockets on the Alpine Pocket Scarf, which was the original thing that I made that everybody requested a hat to match. But of course those are optional. And the Red Heart Heat Wave, which I'm using right here, originally was only in solids, so that's what I happen to have in stock. But I believe there are some stripes available now as well, and there may even be, I believe there's a camo color, so for those who want to use that for their hat, that is also available. I haven't worked it up to see how it works out though. Always interesting with those multicolor ones just to see how the color layout will occur. So thank you so much, Jay Duncan. I appreciate it. So yeah, just working off all these front post trebles. I am making the small size right now, so I should have a total of 48. Don't worry, I won't make you watch me count them. I'm gonna believe in myself and keep going here. But if you wanted to make this hat in even smaller sizes, it's a little tricky just because there aren't that many stitches necessary to make the big size. But you could probably stop increasing after round 4. The problem is that that's going to be a very small hat. When sorry, getting off camera a little bit there. When I was designing this hat, I tried to take it a little bit smaller, but I ended up with a big jump from basically the teen down to teeny tinies. So you can play with it a little bit, maybe vary the yarn thickness. If you went down to a DK and a smaller hook size, I think you could get some smaller children's sizes, but when you're writing a pattern, you kind of have to stick with the one yarn and the one hook size most of the time, and rework it then completely in a different yarn for if you need to do that. So anyway, go ahead and, yeah, like I say, share what you're working on, share where you're tuned in from. Like I say, I really hope to have an Easter pattern, a new Easter spring pattern out here next month for National Crochet Month and for Easter, of course. And I'll go ahead and tell you, one of the patterns I want to share next month is going to be really simple. And that's kind of the point. I've been putting together a pattern that is great for people who really want to learn to crochet. And since it's National Crochet Month, that seemed like the right thing, the right time to release it. And I taught this, I taught a Learn How to Crochet class for Prime recently, Prime Publishing. They do All Free Crochet and Fave Crafts and all of those sites. And so I developed this pattern that I'm going to go ahead and share on the blog. And basically it will have the instructions written out. Did I go too far? No, I haven't gone quite far enough. One more to go here. So I shared I will share the instructions on the blog, but they'll be written out in both standard crochet instructions and sort of in plain English. And then there will be a video tutorial the following week. So I'm really hoping that if you have friends or family who want to learn how to crochet, that this will be a good pattern to send them to, a pattern and video where you can really see the different types of instructions. And maybe for those who know how to crochet but don't know how to read a pattern, to be able to see those together. And hopefully that will help it make it click for some people. So I believe, let's see, we started with a double crochet. So that means we're going to end with a treble crochet. So that's where we end that round. And then we can join with our slip stitch. So there we go. Alrighty. And there we have it. That is after round 5. Now, after that, on our Alpine Stripe Beanie, we just go to working even. You can see round 6, we just single crochet in each stitch around. And then after that, it's just front post treble crochet around the double crochets 2 rows below, then double crochet in the next. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to chat at you for just a little bit more so we can just these next 2 rows done so you can see how the rest of the hat is done. Because after that, it's just repeating those 2 rows, single crochet around even, and then a round of alternating the front post trebles and the double crochet stitches until you get down to that brim. So I made it as a beanie style, but you could absolutely add a few more rounds of those rounds where it's working even, basically rounds 7 through 18. I had to check the pattern there. If you wanted to make it more of a slouch hat style. Or if you just have a taller head, or you like it down further over your ears, or if you wanted to have a brim that you could fold up, whatever you like to do. In fact, if you're a knitter, one thing that's really fun that I've liked to do in hats for myself in the past is I will crochet the top portion, you know, the more interesting pattern portion, and then go ahead and pick up those stitches and knit the brim. Then you get kind of the best of both worlds. You get that really stretchy knitted brim people tend to love. You can do a rolled brim, you can do a fold up brim, you can do a ribbed brim, but you can have those really pretty crochet stitches and all that thick thermal warmth right on top of your head where you need it most. So, oh, Sherry, calling it Cherry, you're working on a hat with this pattern right now. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, this stitch. It's just so nice and warm, and it gives great texture. And I think it's really unisex too, which is really nice. Crochet does beautiful lace and floral patterns, and finding these geometric, little bit less lacy, less floral patterns is always a really nice option. And I know people I too tend to fall into that whole masculine feminine trap, but I'm one of those women who I don't tend to wear a lot of floral patterns myself. I really enjoy the more geometric patterns in my own life. So more about personal preference in the end. So, oh, Sonia, yes, I think I saw your videos for the diamond scarves, and yes, they were both beautiful, and I believe it. That's some thin stuff. Very different from what we're doing today. So thank you. And hi, Beth from Illinois. I grew up in Illinois, not too far from where I am here in Iowa now, but way out in the country, not near anything. People always say, where by, what, by nothing, out in the middle of the country. Out in the middle of nowhere. There we go. All right. So I've single crocheted all the way around. I'll go ahead and slip stitch that. And let that sit for a minute while I get a sip of my coffee. That is what it looks like at the end of round 6. There we go. And then, like I say, round 7 is going to be our repeats. Our repeats are going to be round 6 and round 7. We just did round 6. Round 7, we chain 2, which does not count as a stitch. And the reason I do the chain 2 instead of the front post, the chainless starting double crochet in these rounds is because you simply don't have to. That chain 2 does tend to disappear a little bit, and if nothing else, it fills it in. But you could use the, and it's just easier to do rather than doing a chainless starting front post treble crochet. So what we're going to do is, and I misspoke, I shouldn't have said that. It's not just round 6 and 7 that you repeated. It's 6, 7, 8, and 9. But that's only because we have to offset whether we start with a double crochet or a front post treble crochet. It's been a little while since I made that hat. I forgot about that little detail. Because we're going to be working into the stitch 2 rows below. If we're working into a double crochet, it needs to be a front post treble crochet. 2 rounds after this, the first one below it will be that front post treble. So then we need to work a double crochet into that one. So it's just alternating which of those 2 stitches you start with. And if you have to start with the front post treble, it's easier to do the chain 2 first. So I've got my chain 2. I'm going to drop down to that double crochet right below. Make my front post treble crochet right there. Then I want to make sure to skip the top of that stitch right behind it. Come to the next one, double crochet there. And then front post treble in the next. So now that we're working even, the way to make sure that you're always on track here is that every time you make a front post treble, it's going to be around a double crochet. And every time you make a double crochet, it's going to be into a single crochet that's on top of a post stitch. So we just want to offset those post stitches to get sort of that overlapping look from here on out as we go down the hat. So after the first few rounds here, the hat should start cupping into that typical hat shape. But otherwise, we're just alternating around. This time you want to make sure we're not working around each of these. We're skipping those post stitches and just working around the double crochets. But we just keep working on around. So let's see, Connie asks, do I get a lot of wildlife in our yard? Oh my gosh, it's funny. It's winter now, so it feels like it's been forever. But when we first moved in here, we had so many birds and bats. We had a ton of bats in the yard, which, mostly came out at night and ate the mosquitoes. So we were totally fine with it. But then all of a sudden we started getting birds of prey, raptor type birds in our yard. And the bats suddenly started decreasing, go figure. And then we started getting owls. So it's kind of been there was an old woman who swallowed a fly situation right in our own backyard. It seems like every year something brings in something else. And I'm not sure where it's going to stop. We've had a couple coyote sightings, apparently. We've gotten letters from the city because we are officially in town limits now, but we still get so much wildlife because we've got the creek running through our backyard that runs through town. And we've gotten letters from the city before saying there was a risk of coyotes if you have a small dog to watch out, which we do. And we have been able to spot foxes a few times through the yard, which is always very exciting, gets our dog very excited. And then lots of deer, of course, in the summertime. So many deer. Really have to think about what bushes we plant outside because they do love to snack. So it's in our old house, before we moved to the house we live in now, we used to have ducks that would come and land in our backyard all the time. And I remember one time we were out there with our kids when they were really small and my sister was visiting and we were actually playing duck, duck, goose with the kids in the backyard, and a whole bunch of ducks landed in the backyard to join us for the game. And that was a pretty fun day. So that is a little bit about wildlife in our backyard there as I crochet. The other thing I did want to mention while I have you with me today, the word has officially gone out this morning, I believe, in the email, that the Crochet Guild of America conference this year is going to be virtual. We are going online for everyone's safety again this year. Ideally we would have been able to be in person, but it's just not safe yet. So we are very much looking forward to being back in person in 2022, but we will absolutely be having a virtual Crochet Guild of America conference this year. So hopefully you'll all be able to join us for that. I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is going to be my first conference as president of the Crochet Guild of America. I became president sort of in the middle, or at the end, I guess, officially, of the conference last year. But I am excited to be there to help with this year's virtual conference. Saddened, of course, that we won't be in person, but very much looking forward to next year. So let's see. Oh, Connie, you've gotten those coyotes come even in the middle of town. Absolutely. Oh, let's see. And Carrie Jo, it wants to hide. I'm going to go ahead and show your comment. Sorry about that. I guess YouTube was suspicious, but yes, these crochet hooks. I'm so glad to hear you love them. And hi, Creatively Crocheted Crochet. Hey, so when is the CGOA conference? It is July 14th through the 17th, I believe, are the official dates. We might start things a little early since it's virtual, maybe start a little closer to Monday, since we don't have to, I'll rent hotel rooms for a few days. We can spread it out a little bit more, but we've definitely got some really fun events planned. We're trying to carry over just as much from the in-person conference as possible, but definitely mark your calendars for the end of July. And one of the great things is, because of this whole pivot to virtual thing we've had to do this year, that the Crochet Guild of America, we are also offering year-long classes. So do check those out if you get a chance. Classes virtually year-round now. So we're able to be together as best we can and keep looking forward to next year. And I tell you what, I think that the banquet where everybody wears their handmade fashions at the end of the conference next year is going to be absolutely amazing, because everybody's had such a chance these last few years to really come up with something beautiful to share. So very much looking forward to that, as well as the member fashion show. The design competition, I think, is going to be absolutely amazing. Everybody's had a little extra time to work on their entries, and I just can't wait to be back in person. Like I say, I'm really excited about this year, but I'm also very excited for next year. So let's see. Mice and cicadas. Yeah, plenty of mice around here too. Constantly a battle with those for sure. Let's see. Alrighty. So round 7. Remember, we officially started with a front post treble crochet after that chain 2. So we're going to end with a double crochet. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, round 8 would be single crochets again. And then we would start with a double crochet, because we're above a front post treble around the double crochet on top of it, and the single crochet above it, front post treble around that next double. You just want to offset the pattern. If I pull the hat back in here, you can see sort of folded out there, so we can really get a look at that top there. You can see here we start working even, and it's just front post trebles around the doubles and doubles in the single crochets above the front post trebles. And then you can change colors every 2 rows if you want. Don't change colors at all. Whatever you like to do to get those stripes in there, or skip them all together. It's totally up to you. So hi, Donna. Yay. And yes, Chris, definitely. I think that has been probably one of the better side effects of all these lockdowns, is that people who couldn't travel before can come to events, and we can all really see a lot more events, and, without having to get hotel rooms and all that fun stuff. So there is the basics. It gets you started on the Alpine Stripe Beanie. Like I say, after that, it's all stitches we've made. You come on down. If you want a tutorial for the brim in the pattern, I do have a tutorial specifically for this brim. It is very simple. It's just single crochets back and forth, and then you just sort of slip stitch into the side of the hat before you turn and work back and forth. So after making a brim like this, it might give you some ideas. I get questions sometimes on how to add a little extra to the end of a row if you find you need to add a couple extra stitches and you're already a few rows in. This sort of technique can help you with that as well. So Kristen says, I'm working on just about everything but my crochet, painting my clay sculpture, embroidery, putting together boxes, purses. Awesome. Yeah, I too. I love multi-crafting. So it is a lot of fun to be able to pick up other things and try them out. You'll definitely want to check out those Michael's classes then, because there are so many fun crafts to explore. So again, that was the Alpine Stripe Beanie. I'll go ahead and show that hook one more time for those who are interested. This is a Susan Bates soft ergonomic hook. I happen to be using the 6.5 millimeter K hook size, but I do have a link for these, as well as the yarn and the pattern for the hat and everything else I've talked about, linked at the link in the description if you want to check that out. So let's go ahead and come back up to me. In just a sec here, there we go. I hate to move that camera because I feel like people are going to get seasick as I move it if it's still on that camera. But I wanted to give a great big thank you and shout out. Thank you so much to everybody who subscribed to the Moogly YouTube channel. We recently hit 180,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. So thank you for that. And thank you for tuning in today. And thank you too for spreading the word about Moogly. It's just me and Jeff back there behind the camera. We don't have a big advertising budget and all that stuff. So anytime you can tell your friends, share a link. We always appreciate it. And like I say, next month, I will have that Learn to Crochet pattern come up. So hopefully you can share that with friends and family all over the world who want to learn how to crochet. So maybe, even if we can't be together right now, that's something you can sort of do together virtually until we can get together again. So thank you so much, Triple C. I'm going to go ahead and call you Triple C. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much, Penny and everybody and Natalie. Thank you all for tuning in. And Chris and everybody, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you joining us. Excuse me. Do check out that link in the description, like I say, for all that stuff, all the other cool things going on Moogly right now, including giveaways. And then tonight, I'm going to be back here on YouTube, but not on my channel. I'm going to be on the Michael's YouTube channel. I'm going to be sharing the Carrot Cake Showcase. I don't know if I should, but I can give you a tiny preview. I'll grab one of the patterns I'll be sharing this evening. Let's see here. Let me hold this up. It's a bag. Isn't this gorgeous? Absolutely stunning. So that's your sneak peek for tonight on the Michael's YouTube channel. If you want to attend the Carrot Cake Showcase, actually, I take that back. I'm so sorry. I screwed that up. It won't be on the Michael's YouTube channel tonight. It'll be on Zoom tonight. It'll be on the Michael's YouTube channel in a couple days when they get it up. So if you want to attend tonight, you have to go to the link in the description or go to mooglyblog.com and register for the class to come see that tonight. If you don't want to attend it tonight, I get it. It's 6 p.m. Central. It doesn't work for everybody. Within the next 24 or 48 hours, Michael should have it up on their YouTube channel. So you can come check that out at that point. So, yeah, well, thank you so much, Connie. I really appreciate it. And Susan, and thank you so much. And Triple C, thank you. Absolutely. Please do one of my patterns and give me a shout out. That would be absolutely wonderful. So I appreciate it. Just always link out. As long as you don't give away the actual pattern, it's all good. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day and stay warm out there, or cool, depending on where you're at, and safe and wonderful and crafty. And I will talk to you all again soon. Have a great day, everybody.